there are some side effects. So guys, like, just stay skeptical when you see this stuff. And like, this new ideal is this very, very thin. Know that there's these people who are making a very conscious choice to do that. And like, just stay grounded and pay attention.
What my mom always told me, Amanda, was if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea.
What's up, cocktailers?
Hey, cocktailers. So, gosh, B, what a difference a week makes.
Oh, man. Yes, I'm so happy to be back up in my natural habitat. Bravo and Cocktails _ is back. Please remember to follow Cocktails and Gossip. That is the backup account. It's our podcast account, but it's also our backup account. And listen, thousands, I don't even know how many of Instagram users had a bad experience this week when they were disabled for no reason. Instagram was swift to correct that. And they actually received a specific email. You know, Amanda, you've said to me maybe I was the first one to have that glitch. I don't think so, because I didn't get an email I was disabled. I was not disabled. I was locked out. I'm just going to leave it there. I like to forget about it. Move forward.
It's back, and everyone, we're so excited because they're...
What I can say is, the tea that I have.
Exactly.
The tea.
Well, speaking of, so this also, we talked about this last week, but this Kim Zolciak Biermann foreclosure has been all the talk into this week as well.
I mean, it's a wild situation. We know that on November 1st, which was this past Tuesday, there were public documents saying that it was going to go to foreclosure. And the cocktailers, they had theories. They had, I had real estate attorneys. I had mortgage people. I had, all people in the biz who know about this stuff much better than I do weighing in. So I tried to comb through it. And what seems like makes the most sense to me, I'm going to share, because if I shared every theory, we'd be here all day. We got an email that a certain country singer was going to be buying it, and then the family would rent from them. I don't know if that's true, but this situation is from a real estate lawyer. Okay. They say the $300,000 was a junior lien, also known as a home equity loan. The home didn't go to the official auction. When we say official auction, we're picturing like the guy going once, going twice, like the fast talking guy.
Right.
Instead, the primary lien, which is their first mortgage, was given dibs. So to protect their lien and hand in the game, they worked with the secondary bank to purchase the home. So this person says, unless they have some sort of gold hand and the bank feels that they are a good investment, the bank will take the home to protect themselves and their first lien. So foreclosure auctions are like auctions you think of, fast people talking, people raising their hands, right?
Right.
Like Sotheby's, right? Where you hold that paddle up and they bid. With homes that get foreclosed on when it's a second mortgage, the primary mortgage gets dibs on the house in order to protect them. The first mortgage company would be notified of the foreclosure process and work with the second bank to protect their first mortgage. So technically, it doesn't go to an auctioneer to auction. They just agree behind closed doors.
I see.
In Georgia, yes.
Okay, so just quick, because I think now finally, like, because I saw this email and I did not understand it. But what it's essentially saying is, like, let's say Chase Bank has $1 million or $2 million, mortgage for this house. And then there was this $300,000 loan that was going into foreclosure. And so they essentially bought it for $257,000, knowing that now they own the house. So if when the house sells, they will essentially be able to pay off all of the debt, essentially, and protect their mortgage by,
Well,
right? Because if,
do you mean the family will be able to?
no, the bank. The bank will be able to.
Correct.
Yeah.
The bank
So
will be
Chase is
able to.
essentially, if it, who, we don't know who it is. I just made that up. But whatever the bank is essentially, they know that their mortgage must be a lot more than $300,000. And so they know that way, like the bank owns all the debt essentially. So they'll get all of the profit when the house sells.
And then, like, other people said things like, you get a certain amount of time. The next question is, I'm sorry, I have so many notes on this, you guys.
It's been like a beautiful mind behind the scenes.
Oh my God.
I don't think I even understand this.
So my question to this attorney, Amanda, was like, can they buy it back? And what she said was, you get 30 days. Like, if she said that the bank now owns the property. So that 257 was bought by the bank, and that's why that number is so low, and that's why it makes sense, right? So they said that if it's a situation where they have $2 million in the bank and 3 credit cards that have never missed a payment, and the first mortgage had never been late, right? So if it was just some random thing with the home equity loan, as an example, let's say they forgot they took, so people refinance, right? Because the rates are lower. So let's say you're in a situation where you refinanced and you kind of almost just forgot about it, but in every other way, you pay your first mortgage, you're in good standing, you have good credit. There could be a situation where something could be worked out. Okay. Yeah. So it's not that it's an impossibility.
Yeah.
They could choose to work with them, even roll that money into the first or refinance. But if the bank says, which is what would likely happen, this is a real estate attorney, says, you have to pay this whole thing or we're going to take the house. That would be probably the deal. Mm-hmm. So that you would owe $300,000 plus any fees and tax that occurred during that time. So if this is the case, yes, they could pay and get the home back. If it was a situation where you're a wealthy person who forgot that you refinanced, if you were able to have money in hand and whatever, yes, you could absolutely do that. If not, in 30 days, they would need to be out. The person said sometimes with children, you're granted a longer stay. But in this scenario, it isn't as if another actual person purchased, right? Because it's the bank. So they don't need to immediately be out. Because what some people were saying is when homes are foreclosed on, they need to be immediately out. But this is obviously... Right. According to this theory. And guys, this is all rumors. These are all theories.
Yeah.
What we do know is that on the county's public record, it would be like posting an obituary for somebody who was alive.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Like,
yes.
So it's worth noting that a couple of media outlets reached out to me because nothing's filed in the court. And this real estate attorney says, because they looked into this, right, that Georgia has a 10-day repeal process. This is a new COVID rule in the COVID era. Then the deed is issued. So this person knows someone who works for that department in Georgia. And she said it definitely sold. This woman asked her for proof. And she said that it may be the COVID rule. So in 10 days. So this is 10 days from Tuesday. So I don't know if we'll be recording before or after that. But I say all this to say, and then you have an interesting situation where this person, this former housewife, does a live. Did you catch that live, Amanda?
I did not.
I did. I had just dropped my daughter at soccer practice and I was sitting in the car and I see that she went live. So this is my thing. It was a chaotic live. There were boxes everywhere. She said she was donating stuff. She was going on about it's all rumors and I could sell my cars, which P.S. the cars are most likely a lease. So if you were to sell a lease, you might make a couple $1,000s or something. You're not making money to see it. It's not like you're selling $100,000 car. You know what I mean?
Wait, so like moving boxes? And she was saying this is just because she's giving stuff away?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Not
packing. And the house was in general disarray.
Yeah.
This is my thing. And again, who knows? Could it be that somebody hacked this public record site and put this in? All things are possible, right? Again, there's that 10-day thing. So if in 10 days nothing is filed and it still belongs to them, I mean, I trust that the cocktailers in the biz will give us the lowdown of what happened. But if I had to put money on something, I would say in 10 days we're going to know that what this person said to me is pretty on point. Here's my thing. If she's going to go on and say it's not true, okay. And if it's not true, why wouldn't you explain Like, I know that because what everyone was writing in the comments, well, some people were like, of course it's not true. We love you. But what the majority of people were writing was, these are public records. We're looking at public records on a county website. Why wouldn't you say, listen, this was a situation where we refinanced, and yes, it says foreclosure. It was an error on our part. All is good. And in a month from now, you can check and you will see that we still own the home. Yeah. In other words, if it really wasn't true, why not explain what was wrong?
Okay. And so, now I'm understanding too. Okay. So there was one question that I had that I think I've clarified, because we were sent a link to a public website that said this is going up for closure auction on November 1st, right? That was public knowledge. Yes. What nobody knows for sure, and we think it might be because of this COVID rule, is whether the house actually sold.
Well, no. So on that site, it's recorded that it was auctioned for $257,000.
Right.
But the deed has not been transferred out of the name of the family that owns it.
Okay. Got it.
So is it somehow possible that we're missing something here and she somehow bought that foreclosure?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What my disconnect is with all of this swirling, going on live, listen, you don't owe anybody an explanation, but since you went on live and addressed it in some fashion, why not say, hey guys, I'm the one who bought it. It was a second mortgage and we just did it cash. Like, in other words, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Or somebody was late in paying us. But we got paid and we just took care of it in cash. Relatively understandable reason for this happening. Right. So, yeah. And it's the fact that there were boxes.
Things are recorded. So unless somebody hacked the public site, these two things are recorded on the site.
Yeah. Yeah.
So somebody gave $257,000 in the closed door auction, like that whole description I just gave you from the real estate attorney.
Right.
Somebody, was it the bank? Was it them? Was it somebody else that somehow, other than the bank, was able to work out an incredible deal? I think we're going to have answers fairly soon. And if it's still in their name in 10 days, my question remains, why not explain it? Why just call people haters?
Yeah.
Like, in other words, shut it down fully. You're allowing speculation. If it's the case that it's on the up and up.
Right.
Why not explain it in full?
Yeah. Well, I just
And I hope it is on the up and up. Nobody wishes this on anybody.
Right.
And as I said, I like her. I think she's a fun personality and they certainly have a nice a young family. You don't want to see anything bad happen. I just don't understand how public figures are going to address something as haters when it's on a public site.
Well, and there were some other documents that we did not share that were sent to us. But according to those documents, and this was like record that you could look up, I believe. Again, not 100%.
And the reason I didn't share them is that I think you have to be a real estate broker to look that stuff up. I didn't share any of the documents because I don't find that ethical. I'm not listing anyone's home address.
And the neighbors' names and and that's why. But looking at those documents, this is not the first time there have been liens or similar situations with their names on them.
It reads like a novel. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So, I hope they get it sorted for their kids, and agreed. I think she's very entertaining.
What's interesting is all property records in this country are public. They're not always as easy to find.
Right.
But they're all public. So you can see what anybody owes on their house, which is kind of like, listen, before the internet, who cares? No one's going to the library to look up your block and lot.
Right.
But in this age, I mean, if you know somebody's last name and what county they live in, you could see every property they own.
Right.
You could see who's on the deed. It's kind of creepy.
Unless they buy it in an LLC, right? And some people do that. Just like Ashley
And
Darby.
now we know why.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Okay. And so, again, big week, guys. You also have some exclusive tea on Lisa and Lenny coming out of their annual Halloween party. And I'm saying that on purpose, their annual. What's the deal? I don't. Did they throw the party together? What's the sitch?
No. And they are not back together. You know, people will run with anything. And they were both at the party, but they were not there on good terms. So we will remember that Lenny's girlfriend has a restraining order against Lisa. And yes, the restraining order is fully in effect. It went through. I know that there was a point where followers were saying, oh, that's just the preliminary restraining order. It's very difficult to get a real, that whole thing. She has a restraining order. And I will just say that I am hearing this from the reliable source, a reliable source. Connect the dots, okay? So we heard that, so Lenny is all about this party, allegedly, very into the party, very, very into this party. He was having it there regardless. Lisa, remember, Amanda, when you and I said that it looked like she was staying in a condo?
Yeah.
She is still living with the kids in the house, okay?
That's good, I think.
Well, yeah, nothing is settled legally, okay? Their prenup is still being fought by her, because she wants to remain, allegedly, this is what I'm hearing, she wants to remain in the home, and he obviously wants to have the home. So that's where they're at. So legally, they both have full right to be in the home. If he chose to, he could still live there with her, okay? Legally, they're both entitled to be in the home. So he says to her, I'm throwing my party. And what I hear is she said to him, okay, I'll be there with bells on. So they basically, like, they're not.
He threw the party also, in their house, right?
Yes. They had like she had her friends there and he had his.
Oh dear God!
So it was like a dueling Halloween parties in the same residence.
Can you imagine? I mean, the tequila that must have been consumed at this party. I mean, just putting myself in the shoes of Lisa's friend, I would be like, we are drinking tonight.
I think that I would be like, Lisa, let's just go to a different party. Because what I hear happened is that, so he shipped the girlfriend off because the girlfriend couldn't come to the party because of the restraining order.
Oh, right.
So the girlfriend kind of shot herself in the foot because had it not been for the restraining order, she would have gone to the party. A lot of people in Miami follow me on Instagram, Amanda, apparently. And there were a lot of people that were there. A lot of our cocktailers were at the party. You know, we have so many, like, beautiful, young followers. And they were at the party, and they told me things. And he was very flirty with all the girls in the party. And now, remember, Lisa's there. So, like, ew.
I mean, just so strange. Like, I'm still getting over, like, the invitations. Did it just say from Lenny?
I didn't ask that. Maybe it was just a text invitation. But he was so angry she was there. So I don't know if he was rubbing it in. So he was flirting around, but what I heard is that he was with one specific blonde lady, girl, whatever, the whole night. And ultimately at some point, he left the party with the blonde in his Rolls Royce and went to another party. Sources are saying he's like doing things like canceling leases, which is like, again, you can do that, right? You could be like, I don't need this car anymore. And like, she'll wake up and there'll be no car in the driveway. Like real, like weird shit. Like real, like petty. And it sounds to me like he's just pushing her to the point where she waves the white flag and she's like, I surrender. Because remember, they have a prenup. She's not going to be left with nothing. I hear that she's really fighting hard to get the house, but I hear that she doesn't believe it's going to work. She thinks it's being said that their prenup is pretty solid. He's a bright guy. Yeah. You know what? Why do either of them want this house?
Well, right. Like, he seems like he is just going the completely petty route and just very, I think, just classless. Like, I think it's one thing to cheat and then like once you're getting divorced, be like, look, what a womanizer I am. But to kind of torture Lisa like this, it just feels sadistic to me. Like, and I too am surprised that Lisa went to the party. But if I were Lisa's friend and she's like, we're going to the party, I'd be like, okay, I've got your back, girl. Like, I'm there with you.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
I'm
sure
surprised
friends,
that she tortured
sure
herself
her
like
friend,
that too. Yeah, sorry.
And I would imagine they tried to talk her out of it. Like, oh my God, so-and-so is having a party. It's going to be great. Let's go there. And she was probably very determined. And listen, her knowing that the girlfriend wasn't there, and I'm just thinking as like a woman who was like she's just been cheated on, like it probably gave her satisfaction for the girlfriend from Austria to be looking online and seeing Lisa posting from the party. Like it must have burned her. Because now how do you explain that to the girlfriend? My Halloween party is more important than my relationship with you. I think, are you 5? Is this Chuck E. Cheese?
No, I think this girlfriend just knows, like, she's probably pretty easily replaceable and is probably just going along with it. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of, it feels like the race to the bottom in this divorce. And like, it would be just so nice to see them just say, okay, forget it. Let's sell the house. Like, let's just both start over clean. Let's leave each other alone. And let's, be great co-parents to the kids.
I wonder, and again, I didn't hear that Lisa was with any guy at the party, but like, I wonder how he would feel if she had some hot guy on her arm. Like, would he care? Probably, right? Because it's all about him.
I'm sure he would care, but I'm sure that he would pretend like he didn't. And then just do something based on what he's been doing, just do something even worse, right? Like make out with some chick in front of her or something terrible like that. It just
you still have 2 very little kids to raise with this person.
Right. And guess what?
Why do you want them to hate you?
It gets harder and harder as those kids get older and have more stuff. And, they're going to have basketball games on days that are not your days that you're still going to want to go to. And like, you better, that's the kind of stuff that people don't see it when their kids are little and they get divorced, that they don't see down the road, that becomes really tough. And so if you think you can get away with it not being amicable, then you're going to be cutting yourself out of a lot of stuff in your kids' lives later on if you can't physically be in the same room together.
Absolutely.
So
all I can say is, as much as this season is going to suck for Lisa to have to live through, because I mean, and we heard her say this at Watch What Happens Live at BravoCon, like she was like, guys, I went into this like thinking my marriage was solid, I'm going to have a fun season, and he literally does this. I think she even said at BravoCon, like, he could have waited until the season was over. Like, why? Why did he do this to me? Like, it's a whole other level of embarrassment, right? So there's that. But what he fails to realize is the power of Bravo fans. And whether you liked Lisa before or not, the vast majority of Bravo fans are women. And they are going to rally behind her in a way that, I mean, in the court of public opinion, he's going to be the worst. On an even greater scale than he is now, because once it's on our television, right?
Yeah.
So does he realize what that's going to do? What that's going to do to his business?
Yeah.
Why would he even do it from that point of view?
I don't know. I think his ego must be at such a level that he thinks he's untouchable. And who knows?
I think it's going to be,
yeah,
a hard drop to the bottom, because that everything's going to suffer, including his court case.
And including like their kids, right? If he keeps acting like this and his business is really affected, the people that it eventually will hurt is his kids too, So
right.
I don't know. Okay, so moving on to a blind that we had from a while ago that I know there is an update on. So let me read the old one. The email is from country@nfl.com. Subject is country football affair. So there's a lot of rumors that this former quarterback who was married to a well-known reality star is being outed as cheating with one of his friends' wives. Yes, it's the country singer's wife. And here everyone thought he was the only one stepping out. I think they'll all try to keep this hush-hush, but good luck.
Wait a minute.
Is this the right one?
No,
Oh, shit.
Sorry, cocktailers.
Ah!
I put the wrong one in. This is another one. Okay, I'll summarize the one it actually is. That's very funny.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. You know what? We can just, yeah.
So, okay, I'll sum it up very quickly. So the top part is, I think it's the same guy, by the way. So this guy, when he split from the reality star, has hooked up with a lot of different people, well-known people. So it's the same guy, okay? He was a football player. This update that I wanted to note was about the wife, okay, is her husband is best friends with a well-known pop star who was formerly in a boy band.
So the wife who cheated with the NFL player.
Ex-NFL.
An ex-NFL player. Okay. Her husband that she cheated on is friends with a pop star.
Yes. And like more than friends. They're business partners. I believe they had a clothing line together, but they grew up together.
Yeah.
So her husband is not as well known. Like he's well known in the industry and he's wealthy, but he's not like your average person wouldn't know him, but anybody, I mean, even your grandma knows his best friend.
Right.
Okay. That's how well known he is. Okay. So the ex-football star was married to a former reality star, right? So this came out, they were on vacation together, the families. So the ex-NFL star, he was already divorced at this point. So he was just there with his kids, went with his friend, who's the pop star's best friend, and the friend's wife, and the kids are friends. They all live somewhere in Tennessee, okay? Goes on vacation, is caught red-handed cheating with the wife.
Gross.
It was like a media blast, and then it was very quickly quieted, okay?
Right.
You didn't hear much. If you went to the husband's page, the husband that got cheated on, there were some comments, and he said that will always be my children's mother. No negative comments on her.
Right.
I think we spoke about this on like our very first pod in May, if not our first, our second or third, because we were still in our basements back then. So what's interesting is a while ago, and I meant to update this, but our pods have been so jam-packed, but I wanted to update this because the married couple has not been posting together at all, and formerly they always were posting together. He posted a video that he's got this like huge property in Tennessee, and the house is for sale. Yes. So, and somebody like commented and said, like on the actually what reminded me, and probably why I pulled this post, is because somebody made a comment. Like somebody must have been scrolling through BravoandCocktails.com. Like maybe it was a quiet Friday night and their in-laws had the kids and they were just scrolling through old posts. And they said they're from the town and it's like a whole thing and everybody knows it. And they don't know why it's not picked up more in the media, but they think that it's because like if it was the pop singer himself, obviously it'd be a huge deal. But since it's like a business partner who's not really a public figure, you know what I'm saying, Amanda?
Yeah.
But we said back then that they would be divorcing. And if you're selling your large property and you're not posting, what do we think that means? So what this person commented was the four of them, so meaning back when he was married, when the ex-footballer was married, were all close friends for years. They live very near each other, and it's a very ugly situation. Because even though she's divorced, I'm sure the ex-wife of the reality star, the ex-footballer's wife, is like, what the F, girl? Why are you screwing my husband on family vacation? My ex-husband on family vacation.
It's got to be embarrassing for the reality star, too.
And it's a very tight-knit, peaceful community, she says. And everyone wants the ex-football player to move away. But unfortunately, that's not what they're getting.
Yeah, sounds like the other family is moving. But probably for the best. So
was that too complicated? I hope I explained that well.
I
It's
know.
a situation, guys, where I just, there's some names that we can't say. So
well, and based on the wrong blind that I wrote, that was about the same guy. The guy gets around, guys. That's the bottom line.
Oh my God. Do you know that I'm trying to remember who the country singer's wife was? We got to go back and read those comments. Because as you guys know, me and Amanda rarely know what these things are about until you guys tell us.
Yeah. And you guys.
I already know the date, the minute when this drops on Wednesday, I am most definitely getting an email completely explaining the blind that we read. So I know you're all curious about that blind. We'll talk to you about it next week.
Yes.
Somebody will fill us in.
We'll follow you. Yeah, we'll follow back up. And B's right. The gold is in the comments always. Okay, so Teddi and Tamra, who I listen to their podcasts and I very much enjoy, especially all the stuff they did around BravoCon. So they mentioned a post from bravoandcocktails.com this week on their pod.
Thank you, ladies. Listen, I appreciate it. And people are like, oh, they said it wasn't true. Just a reminder, okay? When we post from a source, if it says from a source, that means that somebody in the know told me it, and I'm posting it from a source to let you know that I believe it to be true. It's not foolproof, but I believe it to be true. When we post an email, and I get so many ridiculous emails, I actually got one today. If this doesn't turn into like a 90-minute event, I'll read it because it's very clearly, obviously bullshit. And guys, people are going to send me that. I was locked out of my account for 2 weeks. People want, like, they think that me posting something that isn't true is a fail, but it's not a fail because cocktailers know that it's all in good fun. Mm-hmm. I never believed. So the post was that Cynthia and Teddi were going on Beverly Hills. Personally, I know that it's been said, like, oh, Cynthia should move to Beverly Hills because she lives in LA. I never believed it would happen. I personally don't even see it as, like, a good fit. Could I see Teddi being back in some capacity? 100%. I mean, she's very good friends with Kyle. She's friends with a lot of them. And I've said this a couple podcasts ago. Hindsight is 20/20. I really see Teddi's value. And Teddi said something like, oh, what's next? Radar Online? Like as if to say, oh, Bravo and Cocktails isn't a true, like, a news source. Here's the difference between me and Radar Online. I didn't post that as truth. Right. Number one. I post rumors that I hear, and then we figure it out and we announce when it's confirmed, or we laugh when it's bullshit. So that's the difference. Number two, I would like to remind Teddi and Tamra, and I am fans of you both, and I would like to remind you that I was the first person who said Tamra would be back. My top source told me it wasn't true, and Tamra is back full time. So I post plenty of true stuff too. So let's give credit. I love the shout out. I get lots of followers when I get shout out, so keep them coming.
Well, and if you'll remember exactly that situation I was going to bring up where we kept getting all these tips about Tamra coming back, and then your top source was like, no, not true, not true. It could be that Cynthia's coming back to a Housewives show or to a Bravo show in some capacity. So, you know, there's often you know, if all the details aren't there, there's some details in there that are true. So we'll see.
And the reason that it would make sense for Cynthia to come back, A, she's got a storyline right now. B, people really like Cynthia.
Yeah.
Cynthia is somebody who people root for and they really like. And as far as Tamra and Teddi's podcast, which I also listen to and I think it's fantastic, they need content. And what I appreciate about them is they don't just read stuff and say they saw it online. They actually credit the people, you know, whether it's a big account, a small account, whether it's Perez Hilton or, you know, somebody smaller like myself. And that's why, you know, it's a good look for them. And honestly, we see more of their real personalities. And the thing that I appreciate about Teddi that I think didn't come through as much when she was a housewife is Teddi really tells it like it is. And so many people don't. I respect that about her. And it makes me like her a lot. She says things even if she knows that it's not popular opinion and she's going to get backlash for it.
Yeah.
And she does. I think that she gets a lot of backlash that's unnecessary.
Who's always been a Teddi fan?
You have always been a Teddi fan.
You know, just perfect case, right? When she got fired, she said it. She's the only housewife that I can really even think of that full on said, yep, I got fired. She went on social media that day, and even though it was embarrassing for her, she told the truth. So right. Yeah, I definitely see Teddi returning in some capacity. I think, you know, it's no coincidence that Bravo is keeping her, you know, they gave them all of this exclusive access at BravoCon. They had her in the runway panel as well as some of the other panels.
Our boy Justin Anderson was interviewing people with her.
Yeah. So I definitely don't think they would be investing in her unless they, you know, had her as a possibility at some point. down the road. And I think also Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, also, I think they see the value in two housewives or a former and a housewife, having a podcast that kind of shows the other side and talks about, but that's still within Bravo's reach, where Bravo can say, no, don't talk about that, or you can talk about this. Like it's like another extension of the show that is not going to be as obvious to a lot of the people who don't realize that, that there's a Bravo relationship there. And that if Bravo wants to break some news, but do it in a way that it doesn't look like Bravo's doing it, that's a perfect way to do it.
It was actually a really smart chess move on Bravo's part, because we remember when the podcast first came out and neither of them were on shows, they were saying some controversial stuff that, that was the rumored reason why Tamara wouldn't be back.
Right.
And I think it was very smart, because by them putting her back on a show, they're sort of like keeping them calm. But I also want to point out, when I originally heard Two T's in a Pod, I thought, Tamara and Teddy, it didn't make sense to me. And whoever their producer or agent or whatever is that put the two of them together is a genius, because they mesh so well. They complement each other so well. They have enough similarities where they have a very natural, organic chemistry, but yet they're different and they have different opinions. And listen, these two are going to end up wealthy off of this podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
I think Teddy already is wealthy and Tamara does well. I'm just saying, this podcast is going to be a very good stream of income for them. Agreed. It already is, but it's going to continue to be more so.
I agree. And then on the topic of all of these tips and things that we get, BravoandCocktails.com also broke the news that Beverly Hills won't start filming. And when we say news, like, that we don't mean actual, like, we called and confirmed, guys. Like, we broke the info, that the rumor that Beverly Hills won't start filming until January, when we know they were supposed to start filming in November, like they always do, kind of right before the holidays.
Amanda, I just got something right before we started recording. Let me go to my other inbox. The hardest part about this, guys, is like keeping everything open so I don't read the wrong line again. So we did get that news. And what I got from a source is that they said, I have it on good authority from a friend of mine that knows a close source to the fan favorite on the cast. They informed me that the stress of the job was getting to her and she strongly considered leaving. The extended break is production's way of easing the tension for the cast. We originally had heard or posted that, like, production was they were kind of like, we have to just, there's so much heat on all of them right now. Mm-hmm. We have to calm this down. But that what I just read is an interesting thing. I'm going to go and get ahead and guess the fan favorite is Garcelle. Could also be Kyle. But that part is Garcelle. I think that Kyle maybe too. So what do we think about that? What do we think about them? Because they're only taking a beat, right? So it was supposed to film in November, which is like so soon. And there's no time. Like, I kind of agree. Get through the holidays and start like in January. Like, I think that's a smart move. What are your thoughts on that?
I think so too. I think we're all tired too, right? We're all feeling this like slight exhaustion from that season, and not exhausted as in like we hate it, but it's just been a lot, right? And there's been so much drama. I think it makes sense. I think if I were one of them, like, they would, the last reunion literally just aired last week, and here we are, first week of November. I'm sure all of them are feeling like they need a break. I also am wondering too, if part of the reason, not just to diffuse the tension, but to just give it a little time to make the decision on who they want back. Because I think there's probably a pretty strong contingency within the Bravo back offices for wanting to keep Lisa Rinna, but they're probably kind of waiting to see what she does and like, how things go. I don't know. I think it makes sense. I think it's really a smart call. And it's like, can you even imagine trying to shoot a TV show like that and have cameras, I mean, during the holidays, like that's got to be just such a hard time to shoot anyway.
Nightmare. Holidays are stressful enough trying to figure out what to get Aunt Betty, but what fans are also saying is like to that point, like they're fearful this means there'll be no shakeup in the cast. You know, it's be careful what you wish for sometimes.
Yeah.
It had the highest ratings, right? And maybe some distance from this. Rinna has always stirred the pot. And I think obviously her this season was a lot. But like if we take space from that and we recognize that storyline or those incidents are not going to come into this season, then do we want her gone? I mean, if we really take a break from it and we realize that this means we won't be getting it till like the spring or even the summer, right? Do we want that long of a break from her? Like, do we want her gone? What would the show look like? I can't decide for myself. I'm certainly not in the camp of I want her gone. I don't know.
Well,
I know a lot of people are in the camp that they want her gone, but I think that I don't know if they would like the result of that. Does that make sense? Like, you don't have to love a housewife to recognize her, you know, what she adds to a show.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think time just can help with that. I don't think this is going to be a New York situation where they, you know, went on indefinite pause, right? I think it really would be a just let's get through the holidays,
no
right?
Because listen, New York wasn't making the ratings. New York wasn't providing for them financially. Okay, that's what it is. Beverly Hills, we don't have that issue.
Right.
The issue is retaining the fan favorites.
Yeah,
Garcelle. Even Kyle, although a lot of people are like think Kyle's bad, nobody wants to see Kyle go. Anybody does a poll, people want Kyle back, and Kyle has an incredible way of doing bad things and still liking her. I mean, myself included, because she's got, in other words, there's nothing about her that I feel like is a bad person.
Right.
I don't know. It's hard to explain, but
I think, yeah, and I'm 100% with you because I've always liked Lisa Rinna. I feel like I've given her a little bit more of a break because she went through the passing of her mother. I think she definitely can sometimes not turn off the soap actress piece of it. She's definitely been acting out, but I agree. I don't have to love her to still feel like her presence would be greatly missed if she's not on our TV. So it's just I think it just gives them a little space to make the decision and get out of the kind of heat of the kitchen to just take a breather and just make a decision. So I think we'll see.
And then this week we see that the California State Bar released information, past complaints about Tom Girardi. 205 disciplinary matters opened over 40 years. And he was only disbarred this past June. That is insane. 205 over 40 years. I mean, and I don't think we need an attorney to weigh in on this. I think we can all obviously see that there's something fraudulent about that.
Yeah.
But this person said, I'm an attorney in New York, and they don't F with attorneys who mess with escrow accounts here. I can't believe he's had this many complaints with no discipline. He must have paid people off, or they were friends of his. And I mean, agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I read through the documents. It's sickening and shocking because you read through it and it's over such a long period of time. And it's not all just, it is a lot of, yes, this escrow stuff, but then some of it's like that just he abandoned cases and other stuff. And so knowing a little bit about how all that works, it's very interesting. What I found most interesting about that is that over 40 years, you're not going to have the same authority in place at the bar, right? It's generally one of those things where you are voted in and you're on a committee for, I forget how, you know, in every state might be different, but for a few years, and then you've got a whole new set of people. So Tom had to be tap dancing to get, I mean, over a 40-year period, right? And like, it's a little sickening to think about if you think about it in terms of people with power and money, the kinds of things that they can do. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we all know it happens.
Yeah,
right. It's just, when you see something like that, It is.
Yeah.
And so many people look, I mean, you know, we're not in that world to know, but I would imagine so many people's names are in there that now look like not good.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Salt Lake City this week, the Elf on the Shelf husband and the Finsta.
Is this real life? That is really like tweeting obituaries. You have these random choir idol auditions with like 3 people on the line. You have an actual felon facing jail time, and somehow Whitney is still the most unlikable housewife on the show. It's so messy. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Angie K more. I think she's going to give us good TV. I just have a feeling. I think it's funny because we're seeing these new ladies really go for the OGs. Like, we're seeing what's coming up. And I posted something on the website. Do we want to read that quick? Like, about... So what we got was season 3 will be wrapping soon. After episode 7, viewers can expect a mid-season trailer. Before mid-season, there will be an event. Angie K squares off against Meredith. Meredith says that Angie's support for Lisa is dubious. There she goes with those big words. Amanda. And questions how she would feel if somebody attacked her family like that. Angie's not afraid to go low and accuses Meredith of weaponizing her law degree. Dana confides in Whitney at this event and talks about people who have worked for Jen. Dana's another new one. She questions the nature of her spending money and why her behavior is the way it is, even though she's facing these charges. Jen comes for her. What is seen in the trailer is only the start of the finale party. The rest of the party gets very heated. Dana holds her own, but Jen eats her up. It is scary to watch. Season finale will be episode 13 most likely. Jen's trial will last for 2 episodes, making a total of 15 episodes. So we're going to see the trial, along with a 2 to 3 part reunion. Production wants Jen for the reunion, expected to be filmed in January. All this stuff about them filming her trial, obviously that all remains to be seen, right? Because if it gets postponed, then that clearly can't happen. For season 4, production is thinking about Angie Harrington. Dana does not want to be on season 4. This is what this email's. And guys, this is an email, right? So somebody's sending this in. I don't know the validity of everything, but as Amanda said, some of it's got to be true. Angie K is fine with recurring roles. Get Angie Harrington off my television.
I don't see what she's bringing to the table, honestly. She's not that likable. I mean, and she's not putting much into the story. So something's telling me that there will be something more with her, or else we just wouldn't even be seeing her at this point. So I think there's going to be something more with her. There's got to be, because I agree. And there's so much else going on with all the other housewives. So I don't know. That's just my...
Is her storyline her husband making a Finsta account named Shah Exposed that also attacks Lisa Barlow? Like, grow up.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that is exactly why she's on, is because that's good enough, and that's an interesting whole piece of this. You know, I think I'm very interested to see somebody go after Meredith, because Meredith's been a little Teflon, right? You know, kind of nothing is really stuck with her. I watched her on Watch What Happens Live. Was it last night? And
me too.
Yeah, and
no, that wasn't last night. Last night was
okay.
Winterhouse, Luke, and
that's right,
Kyle, which we'll get to because we got some scoopola.
I watched a bunch of stuff last night, catching up. So you're right, but what was interesting, and I'm curious to hear what you think, but I mean, Andy straight up asked her, and he read it was a reader question or a watcher question, like, Meredith, why have you come to peace essentially with Jen, but you won't come to peace, you know, and Jen has now, you know, Jen did this stuff to your family as well. Like, why are you still giving Lisa such a hard time? And
Right.
I don't know what you think, but I don't think Meredith really gave a very good answer. She just was like, well, I just knew that Jen was going through a hard time and she didn't need Meredith marks in her face,
Well,
essentially.
she's not going to say because I'm currently more angry at Lisa and I needed Jen as an alliance.
Yeah.
And that's the truth, if you ask me, my opinion.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, it's the whole Jen thing is so hard to watch. It's so hard to wrap my head around. I must be a naive person because I'm like the person who watches true crime and I'm like, oh, there's no way that they did it. And my husband's like, B, somebody's dead. Somebody killed that person.
Yeah. Totally. I think kind of going back to one of the other things you were saying about the choir, like I actually thought that was a kind of a poignant moment. I think Heather is really struggling with missing the community and missing, that feeling. And to me, that was really poignant that she's like, well, maybe I can start this other choir and it's a more welcoming place. And, I cannot even imagine what that's like, right? Not only just to go through a divorce, but then, kind of publicly come out and say that you're no longer Mormon and be shunned by so many people in your family and so many of your friends. And, I think we see a little bit actually with Whitney too. So that whole Justin, Whitney's husband, being fired. What did you think of that?
I think it's bullshit because I think if we remember back, there was an article somewhere, I really don't remember, but he was fired for like fraudulent activity at the company or something. They're not going to say that on television.
Well, I don't know. Watching the show, because I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember what that was, but I feel like it was almost more about the company than it was about him. So I feel like Justin and Whitney kind of had their
Maybe it was, but then,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but then like, you're not going to say like, the company I was working for was a big fraud bullshit situation.
Yeah.
So it's dissolved. So we'll just blame it on the fact that I'm a public figure. Like I said last week, you've been a public figure for 2 seasons. If they were going to let you go, they would have. So it's just that part is, I don't find anything about them authentic. I'm sorry.
So
I just can't.
I feel like that moment was the first real moment we have seen of them, right? Where he cried. I think, so what I think is, I do think he was probably fired. So one thing that a lot of people might know, and I don't even know how I know this, but in Utah, there are a lot of supplement companies that are formed in Utah. The company,
you know this because you studied Mormons.
Me and my rabbit holes, but it's true. And like, just look it up and you'll see. And like, if you look at the back of a lot of supplement bottles, you'll see that they're either bottled in Utah. There's a big infrastructure there too. So it makes sense. But the company that Justin worked for is called LifeVantage, based in Utah. And I looked it up, and it is a multi-level marketing company that sells supplements. And he was the chief sales and marketing officer. So, I also had heard those rumors about the company being shady. And I just generally tend to be kind of skeptical about a lot of MLM companies. But here is an example of a name of a product that they sell. Protandim Tri-Synergizer with NRF2. And it sells, this is something you literally ingest, and it sells for $134 per month. I mean, what does that even mean? So very questionable.
Is it liquid Botox that then goes to your forehead and crow's feet?
I mean, if I would be buying that in that case,
Right.
But I don't know. I think what they were really trying to say that they couldn't quite come out and say is that Justin got fired because Whitney and like they as a couple don't uphold the Mormon values. And in a lot of those companies in Utah, because the majority of people who live in Utah are either Mormon or have ties to the Latter-day Saints church. And so 100%, I think that he got fired because of that. And I do think that was, and they just couldn't quite come out and say it, although she kind of did say, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was when we had the art sex with the mud or whatever it was that you want to call that. So,
Which we thought was the reason as well
yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. I barely listen to their scenes. I just can't get into it. He doesn't bother me as much. It's her. I just something about her is so.
I don't know. Salt Lake City. It's just been so good already.
But Salt Lake City, I love. Salt Lake City, it's so good. I love every after a commercial when they zoom into the mountains with the snow on top. There's something about it that's very comfy, cozy, and then you have these wild women.
I know. You say that too, because it's like, so many good moments even already this season. I was catching up on everything last night, and it struck me. I was like, God, there's only 5 women holding the snowflake. That's a lot of drama for 5 housewives, and then plus some friends who are in and out.
These women came prepared. They watched every housewife show, and they made sure they brought it, and they're doing a good job.
Well, and they have real shit going on too, and I do think, this whole other piece of the church and
kudos to casting, man.
Yeah.
Kudos to casting.
Love you, Heather Gay. You're my favorite.
Yes.
Okay, so New York. We started to talk a little bit earlier about how they went on indefinite pause. So we got that Mother Appleblind saying that one of the OG housewives will take on a friend of role with the new cast in the reboot show. What do you think?
I don't hate the idea of it. A lot of people in the comments think it's Jill. We know she's been hanging with the new girls. She's been posting with them on social. Other followers have said to me they feel like Sonia would make the most sense because, Sonia loves her some young energy. And then other people said, what about Luann? Luann, if you remember, was always very close with her niece, right? And could totally see Luann and Sonia vibing with a 30 set, women in their 30s and doing the whole thing. We also, when Hannah Berner was on Summer House, Luann was kind of like a mentor to her. If you follow them on social, they would go to lunch, and they both lived out east. So jury's out on who it is. I really don't know. I would think Ramona would be the least likely.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of the least, I don't know.
Likeable.
Mentoring.
Yeah. The least likely to give her time. Great point.
Speaking of Hannah Berner, there's this other thing that's floating around. There's some rumor that something's brewing with Paige and Hannah, maybe announcing a reality show. They have a very popular brand, the Giggly Squad. Their podcast is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of our cocktailers listen to it. They have a very natural chemistry, and I'd watch it.
I think it's more than just a rumor because they posed literally wearing the same outfits as Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton.
Somebody said that.
I'm not the only one to guess this.
You know what's funny is that I did see that picture, but I heard the rumor separate and apart from that. So.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So yeah, I think I'm guessing not the only one who's guessing this, but that it'll be a Simple Life reboot. So. Okay, then cocktail. So I feel like there needs to be a division of cocktailers that are the cocktailer investigators because they are seriously the best. This week,
we have our specialists, and those are our cocktailers who take their trade, be it law, real estate, bartend, whatever their trade is, and they give us information, and then we have our investigators.
Yep. And the online investigators. So a cocktailer found Lala's new man.
So this girl messages me with a picture. And I thought it was the picture that I had posted. So I just liked it because I didn't really know why the person was resending my picture. But sometimes that happens, and cocktailers will giggle when they hear this. People will mean to send something to their friends, but they'll send it back to me. And I always just like it. And then they'll write, oh, shoot, meant to send this to my friends. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, all good.
Yeah.
So she writes, wait, this guy is a guy that my best friend dated in high school. Here's his Instagram. Line up the tattoos. All she had to go with was his tattoos, which obviously are quite unique.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there I am, Amanda. Picture it. Got my face mask on, laying in bed. And I'm like, this guy. So I look. Guy's a model. Okay. Modeled for Fenty. as well as other large brands. Doesn't have a blue check. I know on a podcast, and I knew this at the time, that Lala had said he'd be on the show. And I was like, you know what? Although I'm sure that he would love the fame, in the off chance that he wouldn't, I'm not going to print his name.
Yeah.
Because somebody else is going to do it once I post these pictures, right? So I post the side-by-sides, and it was so great. And then I did, a couple media outlets reached out to me. We were mentioned, Bravo and Cocktails was mentioned in page 6 as figuring out who it is. So yeah, he's a model. He has a young daughter, a toddler like Lala. And I think she says they're casual. We may see him on VPR. I don't know if he's going to have like a role, right? Because if they're casual, he may just kind of be in the background. Maybe she leaves a party with him, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we found his man.
He is super hot. I say good for you, Lala. I mean, Get it, girl. Okay, so another thing we talked about a couple weeks ago, that A-list divorce that is now also seemingly the world's quickest divorce. So we got this blind saying that it's actually about politics. So everyone was thinking it was because of, he had said he was going to retire and then he wouldn't. But now it looks like there could be another reason. So here's the email from Anon. Subject, it's political. That recent A-list divorce, don't believe what you're hearing in the media. It's about politics. She is super liberal and he is planning a run in Florida. She was not down with that at all. If you Google that, you will see articles mentioning this. That is what caused the split.
I don't even have a comment on this. I guess we have to just wait and see.
I can see it happening. I can totally see it happening. So, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got here? Should we talk about?
We got Winter House.
Yes.
I have to tell you, and Amanda, admittedly, I'm not like a Tom and Tom stan, but boy, were they a breath of fresh air this week. They lightened the mood. Maybe I forgot how like fun and easy it is to watch them and their chemistry, and they're both nice guys. And I feel like it was so tense last week.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was a fun episode. It was a very fun episode.
I totally agree. I think, I don't know why, because the show's only a couple episodes in, but it was already kind of feeling a little stale to me. Or maybe you're right, it was just tense because of the whole Luke situation. Or maybe that I'm just getting tired of the formula, which is like, let's throw a theme party and who's doing the chores in the house? It was good to have the Toms in the house. And I thought it was so funny that they slept in the same bed and watched movies together and cuddled.
That was really cute. And we know that Tom Schwartz was going through a hard time. And I think that it was probably great for him to be with his best friend and just have that space together. And I'm sure they had, so it was awesome. And then last night on Watch What Happens Live, we saw Luke and Kyle. Kyle actually called Andy out. Also, loving Kyle on Winter House. Loving this side of him. It makes me realize, obviously, we see him on weekends in Summer House. Oh, did I call it Summer House? I meant Winter House. We see him on weekends in Summer House and he's drunk and whatever. But I feel like in Winter House, we're getting a glimpse into how he's really a good person and a smart person and things that we know, but we don't see as much. So I respect somebody with some cojones, okay? And he freaking called out Andy.
Yes, he did.
Andy
it was so good.
It was so good.
And Amanda, so if you haven't watched it, Amanda and Alex and Rachel were in the audience, front and center. Just so you guys know this in case you didn't watch it. It was Kyle and Luke. And
and Andy goes trying to stir some shit, and he's like, "Oh, Amanda, have you spoke to Lindsay?" And Amanda, being very coy, is like, "No." And Kyle was like, you know what, Andy, I got a bone to pick with you. You're the one who said Lindsay. And Andy's like, "Wait, what?" And then they kind of talk through that.
He was like, "Was it me? Really?" And
then he kind of put it together, and he's like, "Well, you were very quick to say whatever." So then Kyle says, "Andy," because obviously something happened at BravoCon, and that's apparently why Andy said, "How was she at BravoCon?" And Amanda was like, "No, she was great. It's just like when she's caught off guard." And Kyle goes, "Why don't you tell us what you saw at BravoCon? Did she treat staff poorly?" And Andy goes, "I plead the fifth."
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it was
obviously
good. He definitely called Andy out, and he was definitely defending his wife, which I thought was awesome too.
Absolutely. I was kind of surprised that they hadn't spoken. So this is just lingering. I mean, honestly, I feel bad for Carl in this situation because it's just he's in the worst spot. As a fan, get those cameras rolling. Why? Yeah. Like, you know, Bravo, why can't Bravo, like, film a special? Okay, hey, any producers at Bravo listening? Film a special in Manhattan where we get them together in their apartment and they all argue and hash it out and just throw on an episode.
Absolutely. There's no reason they couldn't do that. They've done that in the past, like when Teresa got sentenced and, you know, there's no reason they can totally do that.
And like we're also invested in these relationships, which have become so much more complicated as they've all engaged, married, then they're going to have children. Like, why can't we do check-ins when stuff like this goes on and put some cameras up? Come on. You know, I watched this episode. I thought it was really weird that they didn't mention the fact that Luke backed Lindsay so hard. So he's sitting on a couch with Kyle and he's backing and online he had all these stories which were on Lindsay's side, which fine, he's better friends with her, but no mention of that. And it just, there was a lot of it seeming like it was trying to clear Luke's name.
Oh, you mean on Watch What Happens last night? Just trying to make him look like a better person?
Yeah, and you know, I got some emails on around the time that all went down. Yeah. I don't know who they were from, and I don't know what the intention was, but, you know, he left the house, and he came back and apologized. And then now, present day, it's kind of like, let's blame Craig, let's blame this, let's blame that, I don't know. But you know what I did get? I did get a little email called Bad Behavior. And just quickly it says, she was screaming at Andy's staff before the Watch What Happens live on Saturday night. And Andy pulled her aside and yelled at her. Basically was like, if you ever talk to my staff that way again, you're done. But she also is known internally as one of the difficult talents, crew-wise.
Well, I wonder who that is. Interesting timing.
Interesting. It could be anybody, but the timing was a little suspect. So
yeah, I mean, it could be Lindsay. It could be Ramona. Mm-hmm. But when there's smoke, there's fire usually, and there's a little smoke right now.
Agreed. Yeah. So also, random tidbit: Bethany announced today she's doing a pod where she has celebrity guests. They talk about iconic housewives moments. People are dragging her, including our girl, Heather McDonald, because she talks so much about how she doesn't need housewives. And listen, she doesn't. The woman has a lot of money.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to do anything but sit there and cash checks. But obviously she still likes being a public figure. So to come out with a podcast talking about iconic moments when you're constantly slamming housewives and acting like you're better than, people are having a very strong reaction against. Now, will I tune in? I'm sure I will, because Bethany is great. Like, she's got great content. I know it'll be entertaining. She'll have top, you know, stars as guests. Do I feel like it's a little bit hypocritical of her? Yeah, I do.
I agree. I'm still going to listen because I'm very curious about how she's going to handle that, right? I feel like she almost has to come out and say it. Like, look, I know I've bagged on it, but here I am. And maybe she will. Mm-hmm. So
I don't know about that. She's not one who eats a lot of crow. Luann was just on, I think it was Danny Pellegrino's pod, because I saw it when I was scrolling, and she dragged her. She's like, oh, she loves to talk about us, but here she is talking about us on a podcast.
Oh, that's too funny.
You know.
Interesting. Well, you're right. Bethany is very entertaining, so we'll see.
She is.
Okay, so I thought you guys would want to hear, I know you guys, the Cocktailers, love a tangent. So B and I have been texting about something this week, so I thought we would share that. So not sure if anybody else has been noticing this, but a lot of housewives and a lot of celebrities who were already thin are getting like really, really, really skinny. So I texted B about this because I just read this big, long article about it and asking her like if she had heard about it. And there's this new medication that it goes by a bunch of different names. I don't even know if we need to say what the name is, but it was originally created as a diabetes medication, but it's really blown up in popularity as this off-label weight loss drug. I think it's technically a weight loss drug too, but it's off label if you're not obese. So all these people that are using it. And B, so I know you've been following
about this.
What's that?
We had a couple, somebody sent in a blind about how a lot of reality stars that we know and love are doing this. And if you think of stars who you saw either in person or on television at BravoCon looking super trim, you have to wonder if they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's rumors that the other very famous reality television family is doing it. And if they're doing it, they've probably been doing it for a long time because they know about things first.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, and was it like the 90s when Heroin Chic with like Kate Moss, like that was in?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that's like the new vibe. A great Instagram account that I love, IG Famous by Dana. She's actually doing it. She's sharing her weight loss journey on Instagram.
Yeah, I've been watching her too. And actually, I'm totally not going to lie. Like, I looked into it too because I was like, well, luckily I'm not in the situation where I need it. But of course, everybody wants to be a little bit thinner. So I'm like, well, what does it take to get this? So depending on where you go and which version of the medication you get, it costs between $600 and $1,500 a month. It's a shot. And it seems to be that like there are a few risks associated with it, one of which is pancreatitis.
So I immediately, when I got these emails and when I was reading about it, I messaged my friend who's a nurse practitioner, and she was like, absolutely, there's like real bad side effects. And not everyone gets the side effects, but there's like real strong risks of cancer that was found when they tested in rats. So unless you need this drug because of other health issues, put your fork down and get your ass moving. That's my take on it.
If only it were that easy though, right?
Oh my God, obviously.
Well, the reason we brought this up is because like it's now that we know about this drug, right? I see this everywhere where there are so many people who are getting like I'm saying, people who were thin to start with, who are getting super skinny. And like, it's one of those things, like once you see it, you can't unsee it. So it's like, now you just open your Instagram account and you're like, oh my gosh, I bet that person. And I thought we should talk about it because I feel like this whole Heroin Chic thing, this very, very thin ideal, is just one of those things. Like, people need to know there are people who are choosing this, and this taking a drug, getting it injected in your butt.
You have to inject it yourself.
Injecting it yourself in your butt.
Inject yourself. No,
and
thanks.
like, there are some side effects. So guys, like, just stay skeptical when you see this stuff. And like, this new ideal is this very, very thin. Know that there's people who are making a very conscious choice to do that. And like, just stay grounded and pay attention.
What my mom always told me, Amanda, was if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So.
Yeah.
And also, like, bones are for dogs. Unless you're naturally very skinny, then I take that back. But if you're somebody who's like struggling with the extra 10 pounds, put on a pair of Spanx and keep it fucking moving.
I mean, I'll just sit over here in my jeans that sometimes feel a little bit too tight, and
as I think about
happy.
Which pizzeria I'm ordering my dinner from.
Yeah, and what bottle of wine I'll be opening tonight. So,
oh, hell yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
By the way, Amanda,
yes,
we celebrated a year on our website while we were shut down. And Amanda, of course, is so thoughtful, and I'm not. But she sent me the most delicious bottle of champagne that, by the way, I drank to my head.
Did you love it? I'm
was
curious.
So good.
I haven't
Have you ever
tried
had
that
it?
one. And I know that you love bubbles.
Prosecco's and champagnes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm a bubble girl. It was listen, it's more expensive than I would. What's the name of it? Do you remember?
I have to look it up. It was one that I didn't, I had did a
It's
research
more
on it. Yeah.
Like, it's like obviously for a special occasion.
Yes.
But definitely, and I've drank all the fancy ones, guys.
Yeah.
At some point throughout my life. Better than all of them. It was so tasty. It was a rosé. It was so good.
Oh, I love a
So
rosé
good.
bubble. And
I
it
let
is
my husband have a
special
couple sips.
Oh, you did? What did he say?
I did. Well, I was like, he was like, whatever. He was having a couple beers. He was watching a game. It was like a Sunday. And I was like, I'm drinking this. He's like, all right. And he tasted, he's like, wow, that's really good.
Well, it is a special occasion. It's been a year, and like, look at how far, everything's come. So it's definitely worth celebrating.
Yes. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, cocktailers. Till next time.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Just want to ask you guys a favor, just getting kicked off. So many people have been asking us to do this podcast. So please do subscribe. And if you've subscribed, go to your podcast app and hit those 3 little dots to share with your friends, but only friends who like good tea, because the ones who don't care about tea, then forget them. And don't forget, find us on Instagram at bravoandcocktails_. And check out the website, because some great tea gets put there daily that would get us kicked off of Instagram. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next time.